Hey guys, Tyler here, and thank you for checking out this video. And we are back here with another Marksman Hunter guide, and this time it's going to be for Season 4 of Mythic Plus and the Fated Rays here in Season 4 of Shadowlands. So in this video, we're going to be talking about all things Marksman Hunter, whether that be your talents, your stat line, your rotation and opener, and then also an example build for all 4 covenants. Whatever is going to be most played in your situation, we will talk about a covenant build for that, which includes your Soulbind and Conduit. And then at the very end of this video, we will talk about real quick items to target with the new currency for Season 4, so you can get the most out of your Marksman Hunter. So let's get started. And just like with all my other Marksman Hunter guides, if there are any changes in this abbreviated Season 4, they will always be found in a pinned comment and in the description down below. I'm sure they will change at some point, and I will mark them as updated if that does happen. And then also, if you are looking for something to do as we get closer to Dragonflight, there are links in the description of this video for pet taming for your hunter for all 3 specs, as well as things like the Mage Tower if you are needing a little bit of help doing that until Dragonflight gets here. And then lastly, this video is dedicated to all my friends over on my Discord, so thank you guys so much for all of the feedback over the last couple of months. And if you do join the Discord, you will get to see some of my videos early, as they will be posted there before they go live on YouTube. All you have to do is check out the description of the video, and there is a link down below. So let's get started. So the number one question I get on almost all of my videos, other than where do you get your transmog, is so what covenant is best here in Season 4 for your Marksman Hunter? Well, the short answer is all of them. They are all good at their own unique things. So for Kyrian, it is great for single target. It's even better for AoE, particularly if you are running Mythic Plus, for example, with Mechanicos. And it does tend to be the flavor of the month right now among the Marksman Hunter community. Night Fae is the go-to for almost all raid encounters, with either Naya if you have heavy movement or Dreamweaver if you know you can stand still for long periods of time. And it's also great in Mythic Plus, although it does lose a little bit of oomph over 5 targets and is really great on tyrannical weeks. Venthyr is unfortunately good at one thing and one thing only, which is PvP. So that means that you'll be picking Nausea the Mistblade when you're going into your battlegrounds or even into arena, but unfortunately the playstyle is just very weird and kind of clunky when it comes to having your 4 set plus Unblinking Vigil while trying to get out all those kill shots, at least as many as you can proc. And then the last covenant, being Necrolord, is great for Mythic Plus and is really a go-to arena build for a lot of Marksman Hunters as well, thanks to Fleshcraft. It's great for Mythic Plus because it has large AoE burst potential that can cover single target issues if you run with careful aim instead of an additional explosive shot, and it also provides survivability and more utility thanks to Fleshcraft when you Soulbind with Bonesmith Airmere. So for this first section of the video, we're going to be talking about the Soulbinds and Conduits for each one of the covenants here in the Shadowlands. And I'm going to try to keep these brief since it is Season 4. You guys have probably seen these once or twice in some of my videos. So the first one up is going to be Night Fae. And the first Soulbind is going to be with Dreamweaver, which is a great hybrid for all situations, whether it be for raid or for Mythic Plus, for single target, or for AoE. With Dreamweaver, you do get Pod Tender, which is basically a cheat death. You get Field of Blossoms, which is a 15% haste increase for 24 seconds, as long as you stand in the flowers. And then you also get Dream Delver, which gives you a percentage increased damage on your target. Unfortunately, the con for Dreamweaver is, of course, that you do have to stand in one place for those 24 seconds to really make it worthwhile. This is great for non-progression fights or for fights where you know you can stand in one place for long periods of time. And your tree does give all 3 potency conduits that we're after, which is going to be Spirit Attunement, Sharpshooter's Focus, and Deadly Chain. And then his tree does give 2 endurance conduits as well, which I would pick Resilience of the Hunter and Marksman's Advantage. And then suggested bosses would be any single target boss with little movement, and like I said, Dreamweaver is great for single target and for AoE, for raiding, and for Mythic Plus. And another great option for Night Fae is with Naya and her main ability, which is Grove Invigoration, which is basically a large mastery steroid every time you use your Wild Spirits. Unfortunately, it does mean you hit diminishing returns, but is still a great steroid that you can count on every time you use your Wild Spirits, which is when you need the damage the most. You do get all 3 of those potency conduits, much like what you did with Dreamweaver, and then also you get 2 endurance conduits as well, so you can pick between Animosphere, Resilience of the Hunter, and Marksman's Advantage. And for suggested bosses for Naya, I would choose it on the Jailer or even the Guardian of the first ones, just because those fights you have to move quite often, where Dreamweaver would not be nearly as powerful if you can't stand in one place for 24 seconds. And Night Fae is going to be the only covenant that you see all 3 Soulbinds on my list, and the third one is going to be Kyrian. And Kyrian is really only great for a couple of niche fights. The ones that I can think off the top of my head would be Vigilant Guardian, Anduin, and then finally the Sylvanas fight. Since the pro to this Soulbind is going to be to do 10% bonus damage when a target stays above 75% or below 35%, which is most of those 3 encounters thanks to her wild hunt tactics. Unfortunately, her tree only gives 2 potency conduits, so you would pick Spirit Attunement and then either Sharpshooter's Focus or Deadly Chain, but you do get all 3 of your Endurance conduits, so you'll pick Resilience of the Hunter, Condensed Animosphere, and Marksman's Advantage. Then as for the Necrolords, there's only one Soulbind we're taking for PvE, and that's with Bonesmith Airmere, because of her Forgeborn Reveries, which allows you to stay alive for 8 seconds after you die, Resourceful Fleshcraft, which lowers the remaining cooldown of your new defensive ability in Fleshcraft, and then also Marrowed Gemstone, which gives you an 18% crit buff every minute. And it's no secret that Necrolord is my go-to Mythic Plus build right now. It's a high quality of life build that gives you that extra defensive in Fleshcraft. You can rip your Death Chakram on cooldown, and thanks to Unity, your legendary will provide a free explosive shot, which allows you to run with careful aim to help smooth over the gaps for single targets. But unfortunately, like Kyrian, this is pretty much a niche build, which means you can't really use it in raid outside of the Vigilant Guardian, Anduin, maybe Zymox from the Sepulchre of the first one's fight, Kel'Thas, and then finally Kel'Thuzad. And the tree does give you 2 potency conduits, but that is okay, since Necrolords really don't use their main potency conduit, so you'll pick Sharpshooter's Focus and Deadly Chain, and then of course you do get 3 Endurance conduits as well, so that allows you to pick Resilience of the Hunter, Condensed Animosphere, and Marksman's Advantage. And now looking ahead at the Kyrian options for a Soulbind, you have 2 choices, one being Pelagos and the other being Mechanicos. And what Pelagos brings to the table is going to be Combat Meditation, which is a mastery buff that you can extend the duration of during your Resonating Arrow, so you basically get that every minute, and also Newfound Resolve. The pro to playing a Kyrian Marksman Hunter is going to be the 40% crit chance you get every 10 seconds whenever the enemies are in the Resonating Arrow. It also gives that 10% bonus crit to your entire party, so that makes them the min-max best covenant right now for Mythic Plus, assuming that your group knows exactly what they're doing and map out your runs. And also the con, of course, is making sure that the tank keeps your targets in your Resonating Arrow. You do get all 3 potency conduits when you run with Pelagos, so you get Enfeebled Mark, Sharpshooter's Focus, and Deadly Chain, and you also get 3 Endurance conduits, which will be Resilience of the Hunter, Condensed Animosphere, and Marksman's Advantage. And the other Soulbind option for Kyrian is Forgelight Prime Mechanicos, which is actually one of my favorite Soulbinds in the game, thanks to one of his main abilities, which is Brawn's Call to Action. So every 75 abilities, you summon Brawn for a time, and you also get Hammer of Genesis, which unfortunately in the graphic, I did make a mistake, so after you see Resilience of the Hunter there in the tree, you want to go down with another Endurance Conduit, then pick Hammer of Genesis, which gives you a stacking amount of haste every time you attack a new target. The other 2 great abilities are Soul Glow Spectrometer and the Anima Accelerator. And the main perk to Mechanicos is that you can lower the cooldown of your Resonating Arrow, which means you're going to have that 40% crit chance more often in a key, and that means your group is also going to have that extra 10% crit more often. And then like I said, the one main change, it should be actually picking only 2 potency conduits, so you want to run with Enfeebled Mark and then Deadly Chain, and then you do get 3 Endurance conduits, which mean you get to pick Resilience of the Hunter, Animosphere, and Marksman's Advantage. And the last Covenant Soulbind is going to be with Nausea, the Mistblade, and the Venthyr. And unfortunately, outside of PvP, whether that be Arena or Battlegrounds, you're going to very rarely see a Venthyr Marksman Hunter. Unfortunately, it just does not gel really well with the Force Set and the Unblinking Vigil Legendary. You can get away with running with it on pure single target fights like the Jailer or Halandris. And then with this build, you do get Nausea's special abilities, which is going to be Thrill Seeker, Dauntless Duelist, and Fatal Flaw. And then you do get to pick 2 potency conduits, so that would be Empowered Release and Sharpshooter's Focus, and then this build also gives you 2 endurance conduits, so you either pick 2 of Resilience of the Hunter, Marksman's Advantage, or Animosphere. And now that we've looked at our Covenant Soulbinds, let's go ahead and take a look at our talents. So first we'll do single target with a few augmentations or options, and then we'll look at AoE. So for single target, you want to run with Master Marksman, then Careful Aim, Natural Mending, Steady Focus, or Streamline if you are a Venthyr Marksman Hunter and you can't keep the Steady Focus buff up, then Post Haste, Double Tap, and then Lock and Load. And some players do still run with Volley on single target, just because it makes sure that you get those unblinking vigil procs. I still prefer Lock and Load though. And then for AoE, you still want to run with Master Marksman, and then if you are a Necro Lord Marksman Hunter in AoE, I would still suggest running with Careful Aim since your Unity gives you Explosive Shot. Everybody else, go ahead and run with Explosive Shot. If you are in Mythic Plus, for example, you can run with Camouflage here at the level 30 talents. Otherwise, I still pick Natural Mending. At level 35, you want Streamline, and if it's a strict 2-target cleave fight, you can do Chimera Shot. And then you want to run with either Born to be Wild or Post Haste, Double Tap, and then for AoE, to round out your build, you'll pick Volley. So now this is my general stat priority for any Marksman Hunter here in Shadowlands, regardless of Covenant. And then I will kind of tweak these for each Covenant here in just a second. But first, weapon DPS is king, so unless you are using like a legendary bow from Sylvanas, for example, that would be very close to your highest item level piece, you're going to just want to go with whatever the highest item level weapon is going to be the weapon you use. Then our main stat, which is agility, then 30 to 35% crit strike. I normally like to get up to 30, but thanks to the increased stats that we're going to be getting here for Season 4, it will be possible to keep the same stats we have right now and then go up to 35% crit, which will be great. Then Mastery and then Diminishing Returns is at 1050. So you want to make sure that you aren't going too much above that since you're not getting as much value for that. Then Haste is between 10 and 15%. It's whatever is more comfortable for you. I prefer to be on the higher end of that range, so that way I can start and stop my DPS rather quickly, and it does help just a little bit with your focus regeneration. And then finally, Versatility at the very bottom, but if you are doing high Mythic Plus keys or in PvP, Versatility is much more important. In fact, in some of my tweaks here in just a second, I would put Haste and Versatility being equal if you are in high Mythic Plus, and then in PvP, Versatility should be your #1 stat. And then last but not least, any excess Haste, so you don't really want to go any more above that 15% since we are getting 7% base Haste from our Steady Focus buff. Now let's go ahead and dive into our rotation priorities. So first we'll do single target, then AoE, then I will show you a generic opener. I will then tell you the little tweaks for each of the covenants if they need one, and then we'll go ahead and do a live opener for both Necrolord, then we'll do Night Fae single target, Night Fae AoE, and then Kyrian AoE, since those will be what will be played the most from those 4 different builds. So single target rotation, so you want to make sure you're using Kill Shot on cooldown and making sure that you're keeping that 7% steady focus haste buff up at all times. I try to shoot for at least 90% uptime. You can track that on Warcraft logs. Make sure that you're using double tap on cooldown. You use it on aim shot when you're using careful aim and the target is above 70%. Otherwise, you can use it on rapid fire below that for focus regeneration. But thanks to Unblinking Vigil, you could also just use that on aim shot as well, since it's going to be doing 30% more damage. Then make sure you're always using your Covenant ability, and particularly as Night Fae, making sure that you're using Wild Spirits and Trueshot at the same time every time. Then Trueshot on cooldown, and make sure that you're using aim shot until you have no more charges or focus. You don't want to cap on charges ever on aim shot if possible, and thanks to the 4 set plus Unblinking Vigil, you just want to make sure you're using all the aim shots you can until you cannot cast one anymore. Making sure you're using rapid fire on cooldown, using empowered arcane shots to spin focus for your 4 set to get more Unblinking Vigil procs, and then finally making sure that you're using steady shot in pairs as needed for focus regeneration. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the AoE rotation priority. So first off, for explosive shot, make sure that you are using that on cooldown and that there are at least 3 targets. I would probably want even more than that. And then use your double tap on cooldown, and if you do have careful aim, like for example if you are running a Necrolord Marksman Hunter in Mythic Plus, use it on aimed above 70%, otherwise on rapid fire below, but anybody else can just use it on cooldown. Use your Covenant ability on CD as well, and just like with single target, Night Fae always uses Wild Spirits and Trueshots together. Then Trueshot with your racials, any potions, and your trinkets, any on-use trinkets. Then volley on cooldown and couple that with other abilities if possible, much like double tap. They are very similar when it comes to their cooldown. One's 45 seconds, one's 1 minute. Then aim shot on cooldown with your 4 set, making sure that you're not capping on charges as much as possible. And thanks to our 4 set plus Unblinking Vigil, we are going to be getting so many more aim shots out, and you don't even need to use multi-shot. That's why you see it down there near the bottom. And then of course, if you do need to spend focus, much like you did with your empowered arcane shots, use a multi-shot once. That way that's 20 focus spent towards the 40 you need to get the next free trick shots. Then rapid fire on cooldown, multi-shot if you just have to dump focus and there's nothing else to do, kill shot if there are less than 3 targets, and then finally, as needed, go ahead and use your steady shot. And now for the opener rotation for your Marksman Hunter. You want to cast double tap with about 6 seconds left on your pull timer, then pre-cast 2 steady shots. So you'll do the first one at about 2 seconds left on the timer, depending on your haste. So you go steady shot, then you'll use your Covenant ability, whatever that may be. Then your aimed plus Trueshot macro, so that will also have any on-use trinkets, any racials, and any combat potions. Then you'll use rapid fire, aimed, and since we have so many more aim shots we're getting for free thanks to our Unblinking Vigil, you'll just spam aimed until you can't anymore. So these are going to be the few tweaks I would make for each one of the Covenants. So for Kyrian, I wouldn't build any more than 30% base crit, just because you're going to be getting 40% additional crit every time you use your Resonating Arrow. I would pick Explosive Shot or Careful Aim for AoE, leaning towards Explosive Shot, and that would make your opener look something like this in an AoE situation. You'll use double tap, then your Explosive Shot, then Resonating Arrow, volley, then your aim shot plus Trueshot macro, rapid fire, aimed, and then aimed. And the few Necrolord changes I would make would be to make haste and versatility as equal as possible, because you're probably not doing it in a raid situation, you're probably pushing Mythic Plus keys, so because of that, versatility does become much more important the higher you go up the key ladder. Then for talents, I would always take Careful Aim over Explosive Shot, because the one problem that Necrolord has in a Mythic Plus situation would be to have lower single target damage. So to help alleviate that issue, always running with Careful Aim, since you get your Explosive Shot for free with Death Chakram anyway, it just makes that so much more smooth in the entire run. And then that would make your opener look something like this. Use double tap, then Death Chakram, volley, followed up by your aim shot plus Trueshot macro, then use rapid fire, aim shot, and aim shot. And then the last tweak would be with Venthyr, and I actually kind of already mentioned this. So for your talents, I would pick Streamline over Steady Focus for single target, and then that would make your opener look something like this. Use double tap, then Flayed Shot, follow that up with aim shot plus your Trueshot macro, then use rapid fire, aimed, and then aimed. But also, if you get a kill shot proc at any point during that, you automatically use that over anything else. And up next is going to be the legendaries that you want to run with on your Marksman Hunter. And this is going to be one of the easiest parts of this video because they really should be only 2 legendaries. So first off, one of them has to be Unity, which was the Covenant legendary that we got from Zereth Mortis. So, the item level for legendaries is not going up, meaning most people will not want to run with a helm for their legendary Unity spot. So because of that, I would suggest putting it on your belt, which is what I did from the beginning, or putting that on your neck piece. And then the other legendary you want to run with is the Unblinking Vigil legendary. So again, they cannot go over 291 item level, so because of that, you want to just put that one on your wrist. And then going ahead and looking at PvP really quick, another option for you, Craven Stratagem was the best for Arena, but it did get nerfed in PvP. So if you are a player that wants to do some PvP on your Marksman Hunter, I would go with Unity and Surging Shots. And this section is going to be the macros and add-ons that I use on my Marksman Hunter. None of these are really game-breaking. However, the Trueshot is very important. You want to make sure that you're coupling Trueshot in with an aim shot in all of your on-use abilities since they are off the global cooldown. But for example, a few of these are like Countershot on a focus target, making sure that they have stop casting macros on important abilities such as Killshot, Exhilaration, and Turtle, and then some cursor abilities for Volley, for Resonating Arrow, and for Wild Spirits. And then these are all the weak auras that I use on my Hunter. Most of these just track buffs, for example, for like how long I have left on Turtle, on Double Tap, if I have Trick Shots up or not, how long Volley has, if I have my Unblinking Vigil free proc up, my Brawn tracker here if I'm playing Kyrian, and then Trueshot, for example. These are all found in my Discord, so I'm not going to talk about them too much. Just go ahead and check in the description of this video. There's a link to join my Discord. On the side, it's be called like weak auras and add-ons. There is a text document that you guys can download that will have all of these on it. Literally, you just plug them into your weak auras and you'll be good to go. And the most important weak aura on that list is going to be tracking the focus spent for your 2 and 4 set. And that'll be the biggest way you increase damage on your Hunter is using it correctly. So it is right next to my health and my focus bar. And it is the red 0 and it counts up to 40. So whenever that number is red, that means your next aim shot will not consume your trick shot buff automatically. That's why we don't have to use multi-shot in between our abilities now. But if that number is green, that means your next aim shot will consume that, so you get the benefits of having trick shots even though you had the buff for like half a second. So I'm going to go ahead and attack this Stalwart Phalanx here right now, and I'm going to go ahead and hit one ability, which is going to be Arcane Shot. So Arcane Shot, I've spent 20 focus, so that number is green. So that means my next aim shot, if I'm casting it, will consume. So if you looked, I got the buff for just a second. It consumed it. It went down to 15. So I know my next 3, so 1, 2, 3. So my next 3 aim shots were going to be have the ability to cleave. So now all I need to do is use Arcane Shot again, and then I just keep going. So basically, every 4 aim shots, then you have to use a multi-shot in an AoE situation to take advantage of our 4 set. One of the last things we need to worry about is our consumables on our Hunter. So for Flask, obviously everybody uses it, but it'll be a Flask of Spectral Power. Then for our weapon oil, you use Shadow Core Oil. There's only one choice. For potions, I prefer using the Spectral Agility. For food, you want to get your plus 20 main stat, which is Agility Feast, or getting the plus 30 for Versatility or Mastery food. For gems, I use either the 16 Mastery or 16 Crit, depending on what you want in your build. And then as for the enchants for my cloak, I put Avoidance, because that's really important in Mythic Plus. For the chest, you can put Eternal Stats for AoE, which gives you plus 30 of all stats, or the Eternal Skirmish for single target. I kind of just do Eternal Stats all the time, though, since I don't like to have specific builds. I like lazy builds. For boot enchants, you just get the plus 15 agility. For ring enchants, same way goes for my gems, so either plus 16 mastery or plus 16 crit. For weapon enchant, now since we want to get more percentage damage, You want to go with either Sinful Revelation or the Optical Target Embiggener, or even Celestial Guidance. So the Target Embiggener just gives you a little bit of crit, which would be great for Mythic Plus, and then the Celestial Guidance just gives you a percentage of your main stat. So this last section is going to be me talking really briefly about a couple of items that I'm looking to prioritize for Season 4. And with the cube getting nerfed by 25%, the secondary stats getting nerfed, I should say, I will still be prioritizing the first sigil from Sepulchre. It's just so important for me, but I won't use it in Mythic Plus. So I'm still going to use the first sigil for single target, and I still want to pick up Solia's secret technique as well, since the Tazavesh dungeon will still be here for Season 4 Mythic Plus, so you want to do as many of the Solia's gambits as possible to get that big boy Solia's secret technique. But for AoE, I actually want to come all the way over here to Legion for Return to Karazhan, which is going to be the Relaxing Ruby. So if you guys missed Legion, man, you missed a fun time. So the way the Relaxing Ruby works is a Mastery Trinket, great for us. Whenever you're attacking a target, it will put a Flame Wreath at their feet. After 6 seconds, or if they move out of that Flame Wreath, I know people are going to shudder when they get to that boss, it will explode and hit everything inside it for fire damage. That will be so important for AoE. So because of that, for any AoE fights, whether that be in Raid or for Mythic Plus, I will be running with Solia's secret technique and the Relaxing Ruby. And then for single target, I'll be running with the first sigil and Solia's secret technique. And then as for our weapon, we're going to head back to Sanctum of Domination, which is going to be Sylvanas' bow. So Ray Shalar Death's Whisper is going to be the best bow if possible, and thanks to the Fated currency that we're going to get for completing Fated raids in Season 4, you'll be able to buy an item to bring your Death's Whisper up to 285. I don't know if that's going to be the max item level until you get into like Mythic or even into Heroic Fated Sylvanas, but I'm going to be probably prioritizing that as soon as possible just because that's already an upgrade from the weapon I'm using. But if I can get an even better weapon than that, I'll probably end up going back to the Tazavesh weapon at the very beginning of the dungeon, the first half, which is the Rift Breaker. So thank you guys so much for checking out this video. It's hard to believe we are done with Shadowlands when it comes to guides, so this should be my last guide for Shadowlands until we hit Dragonflight sometime at the end of the year. I'm really looking forward to sharing my experiences with you guys for Season 4, whether that be with Fated raids, trying to push Keystone Hero in Season 4. We did it for the first time in Season 3. Let's keep that momentum going into Season 4, as well as trying to push Rival and get some of the PvP things done that I normally have to skip. And I have so many other videos for you guys. I'll have more friends doing more Mythic Plus videos. I'll try to bring them on to do more recordings. I'm continuing to add more things to my Discord. We're really growing that community over there. I hope you will join. Say hey. I have so many other videos and so many other streams going as well. I hope you guys will check those out. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in Dragonflight.